Voidspire Tactics is a tactical turn-based RPG by Rad Codex, a one-man game studio. Here are my initial impressions of the gameplay. Voidspire Tactics is a very strange game. It's as if the developer has played mix and match with the features of his favorite CRPGs and JRPGs and created some sort of unholy hybrid. Unlike a typical JRPG, you can create your party right at the start. Unlike a typical CRPG, character creation is very limited. You only get to pick race and appearance. Of these, race has some minor gameplay effects, but nothing too meaningful. The meat of the customization becomes available once the game has begun, by way of the class system, which is very reminiscent of Japanese SRPGs like Final Fantasy Tactics. Most of the classes start out unavailable. Characters must gain experience in those that are available to unlock new ones, which gives you some guidance on how to start specializing your character. This makes the game a little more new player friendly, but not by much. The decision space for character specialization is still rather large, given that you can change classes at any time. Compared to a fixed class system where you only have to consider the options offered by the chosen class, this system requires you to consider all of the options offered by each potential class. That being said, most of them are locked at the beginning, so I don't think players are liable to get overwhelmed too easily. The class system revolves around a primary and secondary class. A character can use all of the abilities it has learned of its secondary class, but can only gain experience in its primary class. Experience is used to buy more abilities. For instance, if I had a warrior and I wanted her to learn some magic, I could make Scholar her primary class and Warrior her secondary. This way she would retain her combat effectiveness while learning the new class. That said, characters cannot use the abilities they have unlocked in any classes other than the chosen primary and secondary ones. This can cause some problems during tough encounters just after switching to a new class. For example, I had switched my healer to a more offensively oriented class, and she lost the ability to cast her main healing spells. This made the ensuing combat encounters much more difficult since she had gained no new spells to make up for it. The fact that you can switch classes at any time outside of combat makes this much less of an issue. Had I lost, I could have just reloaded and made the healing class my secondary for that encounter. Leaving aside the class system for now, I think there's a somewhat unique feel to the combat in Voidspire Tactics. Just looking at the features and description of the gameplay makes it seem like a poor man's Divinity Original Sin. And it is to some extent. There are environmental interactions, throwable grenades, and a low penalty for death. Yet Voidspire Tactics differentiates itself in quite a few ways. For one, there are no action points. The turns play out more like Final Fantasy Tactics. You can take one action per turn and move a certain distance. This is still pretty standard, but let's move on to something a little more interesting. Powerful magic in Voidspire Tactics is special in that it takes time to cast, which means that it's possible that the state of the battlefield could change before it goes off. For example, I was going to cast an Area of Effect fire spell at a group of speedy enemies, but the indicator at the top of the screen showed me that they would all be able to move before the spell went off. So instead of attacking where they were, I had to predict where I thought they would be. This adds a fair bit of predictive gameplay to the combat, similar to what you see in simultaneous or WeGo turn-based games like Wizardry. It's a type of gameplay that I feel makes the combat more enjoyable by adding some complexity. More than anything, the combat system combined with the interesting level design gives rise to some unique situations. For instance, I was using a freeze spell to create an ice bridge over some water near a group of sleeping enemies. This woke them up and they attacked. After some time, I found that the foes were unable to reach me due to the large number of water tiles in the area combined with the many corpses littering the battleground, creating obstacles. I was able to use ranged attacks to cheese my way to victory, but this was only made tolerable because I looted the bow off of my own archer's dead body and equipped it on a living unit during the course of the battle. Outside of combat, Voidspire Tactics features some nice environmental puzzles. One of the things I enjoyed about Divinity Original Sin was that it gave you various tools and let you figure out solutions for yourself. And Voidspire Tactics follows along the same lines. You can move all the items around in the game world and even use spells to do some really cool things. For example, there's a spell that allows you to speed up the growth of trees and other plant life. I used it to harvest wooden planks and repair a ruined bridge to gain access to a new area. What I've seen of the story is forgettable, and the setting isn't particularly interesting either. The best thing I can say about it is that it justifies the geographic closeness of the different environments, which in turn allows the encounter design to vary as much as it does. The dialogue is brief and delivers information well enough, but don't expect it to make you cry. Moving on, while I enjoyed the music in Voidspire Tactics, the visual presentation is not good. I won't harp on it too much since it's standard low-fidelity pixel art. What I will harp on are the usability issues that have no reason to exist. Why do I have to hold down the mouse button to move even though the game has pathfinding? Why can I only slightly pan my camera outside of combat even though I have free reign over it during combat? Why can't I just keep all my stuff in one container with sorting options instead of a bunch of nested containers where I have to keep track of which items are which? None of this is enough to stop me from playing the game, but it's definitely worth noting. Voidspire Tactics is a unique game that offers a nice blend of some very fun gameplay. Although the story and writing are forgettable, the combat and environmental puzzles are great. The class system is also nice despite being very different from a typical CRPG character system. All in all, I enjoyed Voidspire Tactics for its strong game mechanics, but I can see a lot of people being put off by the production quality and usability issues.